As I work with people, I tell them as pickleball players, we really only have one job. And that is when the ball comes at me, can I put the ball where I want to put it, when I want to put it across that net? A couple of those key components then are how good are my swing mechanics, my shot mechanics, meaning that what is my body doing for a forehand or for a backhand, and how repeatable are those and how optimized are those so that my ball, my shot is consistently good going across that net. And then also understanding why that ball goes where it went. So vertically, on this vertical axis, how high or how low was it? Did I hit it long and deep? Did I dump it into the net? And then also, what does it mean to control that ball left or right? So if I want to put it on one side of the court or the other or down the middle, do I understand what influences that ball, what I just did to have that ball go where it went? So my one job is to put the ball where I want to put it, when I want to put it there. And if it doesn't go there, I need to understand what just happened, what did I do to make that ball go where it went? And if I can understand that, then I have a chance to fix that the next time I get that shot in the game. Today I'm going to talk about that vertical component, controlling that ball height so it stays low over the net and it doesn't go into the net and it doesn't go so high that I give my opponents a high ball or so high that it goes long and out of bounds. If we can use all those shot mechanics I've talked about to date about how to use this non-paddle hand and get the paddle back and prep, then this ball would be down around my knee or maybe a little bit lower. I would be down in this athletic stance and for me more square to the net with my hand out here in front where that ball would hit the palm of my hand and my paddle back and prepared. And then as I swing forward then, my paddle comes and hits the ball right where my hand used to be. Now there should be some ideal contact point out here at which if I always were to hit the ball that far in front of me and in the same body position, that ball will consistently stay low over the net. And that is the power of this non-paddle hand, that if I can have my hand in this right position, this ideal location to hit this ball, and that ball would hit my hand if I didn't move it, then I pull this out of the way and my paddle goes right where my hand used to be. Now my hand is guiding how well that ball goes over the net, whether that ball is too high or too low, goes into the net or goes up too high, or whether that ball stays low over the net. So I'm in my ready position, this ball comes at me, I get prepared, get my paddle back and prepared, rotate my hand around so this ball would hit my hand, and then I swing forward and put my paddle right where that hand used to be. Then ideally, if I do that well, that ball stays low over the net, and that's how I control the height of the ball over the net. Staying on this focus of controlling the height of the ball over the net. So I have this ideal contact point, and what I want to have happen is the ball and my paddle get to that ideal contact point at the same time. Meaning my timing is good, that ball stays low over the net. Now how does that get off a little bit? So if my paddle gets here early, and the ball's not there yet, then we end up meeting out in front of that ideal contact point. And you can see I get more and more and more lift, and that ball goes higher and higher. I give my opponents a high ball to hit, or that ball goes out and long. So if I'm swinging in with this ball crowded close to my body, I have this ideal contact point, and so the power of this non-paddle hand, then it gives me this reference point about I need to be hitting the ball here, so my paddle and the ball need to get at that spot at the same time. If I don't have this, then there is some tendency to, I don't have this reference point anymore, there's some tendency to get there early with my paddle, ball's not there yet, we meet out in front because I don't have that reference point anymore, and the further out in front I reach and I hit that ball, the higher and the higher that ball goes. The flip side of that is that I don't get enough lift and this ball goes into the net. So what does that look like? Again, I have this ideal contact point. If I were to hit the ball, my paddle and the ball get there at the same time, it stays low over the net. If my paddle is late getting here, meaning the ball gets to that ideal contact point before my paddle, then what happens is we meet behind this ideal contact point. So we may meet back here or here or here or here. And now I dump that ball into the net because I never got enough lift on this ball. So if my paddle gets here late, and again, it's a timing issue, that if my paddle gets here late and the ball gets to this ideal contact point before the paddle does, we meet behind that and I end up not getting enough lift and this ball goes into the net. And that is the power, again, of this non-paddle hand. It gives me this reference point out here about where I want to be hitting this ball. And I know in general that if I would put my paddle there at the same time the ball gets there, it stays low over the net. Now, there are a number of other factors that come into play. I can't do this perfectly every time. I don't do this perfectly every time. I dump balls in the net still, and I hit balls high and long still. But I have this reference point about if that ball would hit my hand and my hand is here, that ball is generally going to stay low over the net. Let's think through some situations where the ball didn't stay over the net, but I was low and I felt like everything else was going pretty well. So here are some common ones. One is I'm too far back. And so as I'm swinging and I'm down in this ideal hitting point and I've got my hand where I want it to be, but that ball never gets there because that ball is shorter, I end up reaching forward, and now you can see that I get too much lift. So when I talked earlier about having good mechanics is part of the equation, but you've got to get to the right spot on the court so that this works. If I'm using my non-paddle hand well and this ball is coming and I'm down here and that ball is never going to hit my hand because it's too short, my left hand is telling me, my non-paddle hand is telling me I need to move forward. If I don't, what happens is I end up reaching too far forward and now I get way too much lift. Another common situation about why some of these balls go into the net is we aren't low enough. And as I talked in earlier videos about having this athletic stance, getting down here with this seat belt buckling down by my hip, buckling down low, I want my hand down below my knee. And if that ball would hit my hand, then I know that I'm in a pretty good position to hit that ball well. If I'm up too high, then what happens is I never get under that ball and get enough lift. And you can see from this visual aid here, that ball is never going across that net. So I simply didn't put forth the effort to get low enough and under that ball. So my hand's here, and it looks like everything's okay, but the ball's actually way below my hand. Meaning that I should be having my left hand tell me I need to get vertically lower, because if I'm up here and swinging and that ball is way down here, it's never going to hit my hand. I'm never going to get enough lift. Again, using the power of this non-paddle hand is, as this ball's coming in, and let's say I'm here, and that ball is way below my hand, I'm never going to get enough lift. My left hand should be telling me I need to be down lower, and then everything will work better. Let's imagine for a second this ball is actually higher. I'm not going to reposition this ball on the little tripod thing that I have here. But if I'm down here in this stance, trying to hit this ball, and this ball is actually up higher than my hand, then I have to start changing the length of my arm here. So I want to swing with this straight arm, meaning I want to be down here and keeping this arm straight. The sweet spot of my paddle is always the same distance from my shoulder. If I'm down here, but this ball is actually higher, my left hand should be telling me I need to move back. So let me step up here a little bit. So if this ball is above my hand, it's telling me I need to move back so that ball would actually fall down to where that non-paddle hand is, into that position where I can hit that ball well. So my left hand should be telling me that ball is higher than I want it to be. It's above my knee. And if I don't move, then I'm going to have to be doing this, or I need to step out to the side and hit sidearm, which I don't want to do either one of those. So if that ball is higher, and I'm up here, and my hand has to be up here, it's telling me I need to move back and be lower to where I can hit that ball well. If I will use these mechanics, use this non-paddle hand well, be down low, whether I'm like this for me, or I'm down here like this if I'm left eye dominant, then I can hit that ball more consistently because I know where this ball is going to be, and my paddle angle matters less. So if you look at this from this camera maybe, so if I'm in here, everything's going well and my paddle angle is off a little bit, this ball goes a little bit to the left or goes a little bit to the right, but it stays low over the net because of my approach and my lift under that ball, and my ideal contact will keep that ball low over the net. If I were swinging sidearm out here to the side then, and my timing is good, and let's say I'm at the right height on this ball, but the angle of my paddle is off, that goes into the net, or that goes up too high and gives them a high ball or goes out of bounds. That's why this is error prone, because my timing can be perfect. It can be going on exactly that line that I wanted it to go on as I'm swinging out here to the side. But if my paddle angle is off, that goes into the net. My paddle angle is off, that goes higher, goes out of bounds. And that's why I don't like when people are swinging out here. I think it's way less consistent. And yes, I understand that people are putting topspin on the ball. I don't have anything against that. I just think it's a little bit more complicated for some players. So let's say this ball's coming in, I'm swinging sidearm, the ball's a little bit low. And so as I swing then, I want to come up the back of the ball, either with an arm like this or with some wrist motion to come up. And you can see from, hopefully I'm not doing this too fast, from this visual aid then, this as I'm coming up the back of the ball, then this is a much more complicated swing. Again, you can do it, just take some practice. Or if I'm doing this and trying to whip the ball with a lot of wrist, then that is more complicated as well. So things tend to go wrong quicker. If I wanted to hit with topspin, but hit the way that I'm professing, then how would we do that? I have a separate video on that. I'll put a link to that down in the description box below. What happens if I don't use that left hand and identify that ideal contact point? Then I'm kind of guessing about where I need to hit this ball, where the paddle needs to be, where the ball needs to be, where that contact point is. So if I have this hand out here, I can visualize this ball hitting my hand, and I can visualize where this contact point is, where I want to hit that ball. If I don't have my hand out there, then I'm guessing more. I don't have that visual reference point about where I want my paddle to be and where I want that ball to be. And sometimes I end up hitting too far out in front or too far behind. And so that is the power of using this non-paddle hand well, getting it out where in that location where I want to hit that ball.